I get here. This is Gather the Roses. Gather the roses one at a time. Pick only the best and make it 9. They've got to be fresh like after the rain and have that aroma just like their name. Gather the roses, don't rush, take care. They're for someone special, someone so rare. Life has been hard in recent years. It caused her pain and led to tears. Gather the roses with thorns all gone. And let the stems be clear and 9 inches long. Price doesn't matter, I must banish her pain. I hope she'll forgive me and love me again. Gather the roses just 9 inches long. Roses so beautiful with their own love song. Wrap them carefully, be kind, gentle and kind, because no other love is on my mind. Gather the roses, not jewels, not fur. Roses so precious, just like her. Where? I'll keep going. Wow. If people have some trouble sleeping at times, you know, they count sheep. This one is called I Will Never Count Sheep. Last night I lay in bed and had difficulty trying to sleep. I allowed my mind to wander. I would not count sheep. I felt myself floating in the air inside a time machine, and memories of long ago came back, oh so pristine. The beginning was lightning fast, and I could hardly breathe. Faces and places shot by with names that I could not read. Then I felt a slowdown. Through the window I saw a sign. The machine had glided to a stop as my feelings became benign. A flashing number caught my eye. That number was 16. Above the door of a house I knew, where I had many a dream. Why I was back here at the house where I was born, on Beal Street in Limerick, on this dewy, refreshing morn. There wasn't a soul in sight, no sounds that one could hear, so I let the beautiful memories interact before I shed a tear. I see myself in the bed upstairs, near the window to Daly Street. I listen to the strangest sounds of people's walking feet. I heard the breeze brought on by a breeze. I heard the sneeze brought on by a breeze. Then the sound of a walking cane. Sure, it had to be Bob McConkey, who lived next door to the lane. Again a sound, metal striking the ground, from a boot with metal heels. That was the Doyles from Powley's. Their boots had heels with steel. There was old Mrs. Shinners just shuffling along her way, and the strong beat of Sergeant Burns' feet coming home from a very long day. Once again I'm inside that machine, and everything is flashing by. Thoughts of things forgotten will stay with me until I die. It is amazing what the mind can do, how it can take you back in time. And I'm thankful to have had the moment to put it in rhyme. I never had to go to the window. These sounds always put me to sleep. And as long as people wear shoes, I will never, no, never count sheep. This is called Innocence. And you'll have to see it as it comes out. We were after playing a rugby match against Norwegians in Galway Bay. It was back in the early 50s on a bright and windy day. We won by 20 points to 12 and stayed late admiring the day. I had rented a car with my old friend, my scrum half, Nutty O'Day. We enjoyed our walk along the sand, having fun with some of the girls. Then 2 of them came from Limerick, with smiles that envied pearls. We had asked them how they got here. They said on a bus to attend a dance. We agreed to drive them home, as we would also stay for the dance. Sea Point was the name of the dance hall where all the best bands played. Mick Delahunty was playing that night, and we were delighted that we stayed. We danced and talked until midnight, never asking each other's last name. Susan hooked up with me and Nutty with Mary Jane. Susan's parents were away for the weekend, so she invited us to have something to eat. I knocked over a glass of water on my shirt and all over my feet. Susan helped me take off my shirt and hung it close to the fire in the living room. We sat on the couch and began to smooch, Nutty and Mary Jane in the other room. Suddenly a key to the front door clicked, and the lights were turned on. Susan's parents shouted in alarm, wanting to know what was going on. There was I with her daughter on a couch without shoes or a shirt. My head bent down, eyes to the floor. I was feeling awfully hurt. To top it all, when I saw her father with his eyes popping out of his head. He had been my math teacher in school, and I just sat there wishing I was dead. I was the wise guy in his class, and there had been no love between us. Mary Jane came in from the other room, and it seemed to lessen all the fuss. She asked me if my shirt had dried so I could take her home, and told the story of how helpful I was when they missed the bus. I drove them home. Nutty O'D got out the back door and sneaked away down the street, and waited there for Mary Jane and me to take him off his feet. I never met Susan or Mary Jane since that Memorial Day. For certain, Susan was warned by her father for me to stay away. He certainly never liked the way that I used to carry on. Sure, it was only a time of innocence, one day in a lifetime song.
All right, Mike.
I sit here alone looking out to sea, my mind filled with thoughts of you. I let the sand pour through my fingers, just like your hair used to flow, when you and I sat together in those days of long, long ago. But you and I are still together. If anything, my love has grown. As I look in your eyes so puzzled, they appear to be unknown. Alzheimer's, the name they gave it, came like a thief in the night. Bit by bit stole away your memory. Now we fight with all our might. I can tell when your memory is working. You look at me with a child's style. I know the remembrance is there as we look at each other and smile. I thank God for the strength He gives me to fight the problems we share. I will tell you each day that I love you, and for you, I will always be there. This is just the street where I was born. It's called Lelia Street. As I walked the canal bank, soft tears ran down my face. My mind with memories crowded while my legs slowed down a pace. Each house, each field, each scent fought each other for my time. So I dwelled a moment longer as my thoughts became sublime. Names, faces, and landmarks flashed by as clear could be. So I stood alone on the bank to let it all come back to me. On Lelia Street on summer days, round lunchtime I recall, those hurlers came outside their doors. The slitter was their ball. With husky sticks held tightly, they were set to play their game, and flashed their skills so brilliantly you'll remember every name. No need to mention who they were, because names bring back the tears of friends so dear that have passed on. It's the agony of the years. So back I walked the canal bank, heading to the rented car, on the Boreen to the Dublin Road and the historic A1 bar. Close to 60 years have passed since I was born close by, on Lelia Street, and the tears began where I grew up as a boy. I happened to have a Bantam motorcycle back in Ireland. My BSA Bantam is the name of this. On the Dublin Road there was many a bar. There was no speed limit and hardly a car. Wide and chic with a black tar face, straight as an arrow with plenty of space. A mighty roadway to start to hike, but to me it was built for my Bantam bike. Out of our house on Leader Street, I rolled that bike looking neat. I stood a while to let the people see that this mechanized machine belonged to me. I straddled the saddle, ready for the day. It was me and Bantam, built by BSA. What a year that was, 1954. Who knew that 2 years later I'd be back at America's door? But for now 'twas the road that led everywhere. So I left my scarf flow and let the devil take care. I had many a friend on the back of that bike as we traveled to places too far for a hike. It was my magic carpet that flew with the wind. Sometimes I just hoped it would never end. In Ireland, there's a famous name and a famous man that passed away a long time ago when they had the Troubles. Michael Collins. You know who did it, don't you, boy, as you lay there on the ground? Did the bullet pass through or lodge inside? And did it make a mournful sound? It was you they chose to negotiate, to set our country free, knowing quite well the improbable that this might never be. You know who did it, don't you, boy, as the sweat mounts on your brow. You settled for 26 out of 32. 'Twas the best you could do for now. The Brits, they lied, they cheated. To them, you're a secondary race. So they gave back 26 counties, knowing the trouble you'd face. You know who did it, don't you, boy? It will never pass your lips, because you cannot speak, and you look so weak, but it wasn't the bloody bricks. You know who did it, don't you, boy? They will never make amends. But you know who did it, don't you, boy? They were once your old friends. I might take too much time out of people. Okay. This is time on your hands, on my hands. It was just one of those evenings. I was caught in the rain, just sloshing along, few thoughts on the brain. No real problems, I was covered quite well. Then I saw a derelict, and he looked like hell. His clothes were rotting, and the boots with no laces, standing on the sidewalk in search of kind faces. We looked at each other, eyes locked together. Kind sir, I need help to get out from this weather. I took out a 10 and put it in his hand. He thanked and blessed me. I felt grand. With time to spare, being curious as well, I followed the poor guy to see where he did dwell. 4 blocks I followed. It was turning dark. Around the next corner was Central Park. He jumped over the bushes with an athletic style. I was quite surprised, and I had to smile. Shortly thereafter, a gentleman came, dressed to the nines and using a cane. He stopped at a BMW, opened it up with his key. As he drove away, he smiled directly at me. Yes, it was him. I was his last score that day. I would no longer be curious and stupid that way. I learned my lesson, and I feel somewhat glad. No more feeling curious and finding out I've been had.